Hey everyone, this video is meant to clarify a little bit more about your last two assignments in 4300, namely the content standards binder as well as the observation and reflection piece. So let's start on the content standards binder. I just want to make sure you're aware that this isn't just kind of a fluffy assignment, or this is just not something we're coming up with off the cuff. We're trying to do our best as teacher educators to teach you according to what the state expects you to learn. And part of that is right here in TPE 3.1. That as a teacher candidate, which you are, you're supposed to be demonstrating knowledge of subject matter, including the California state standards. Some of the demonstration of your understanding of the subject comes through the CSET. It also comes through stuff that we do in classes and then through university supervision. And then the other way that we're assessing it is through this content standard binder to see that you really understand your standards. So the question becomes, what do we expect from you then in this assignment? So if you go to the content standards binder assignment, it's explained here, but I think a few of you are getting confused based on the way it's written here. And I'm just going to be clear about what I expect. I'm not expecting you to have 10 examples in your folder. And I think let me make sure I put this in context of what Dr. Mack's saying. He wants 10 examples in your folder in general. I don't want you to read this as in 10 examples for every single, and I think sometimes he even says your folders for his group, he wants to have like lesson plans, resources, curriculum materials. So he might even take a step further with his group and say he wants to have 10 of each of these categories. So essentially you'd have like 70 different items. I'm not too caught up on the quantitative piece, right? I want to see in your binder that you have an array of lesson plans, resources, curriculum materials, formative and summative assessments, strategies, any kind of things you've learned in teaching your standards, and any kind of instructional activities that you've learned out in the field that comprise all of your standards. And I would say, at least for me, having a piece of evidence for each standard in a chosen grade level. So what do I mean by each standard? And all of your standards read a little bit differently, so I'll just pick on history and hopefully this will be transferable for the rest of you. And so what I don't want to see is, if I'm going to scroll down to just like a secondary grade, right? So let's go to grade 7. What I don't want to see is you find, a single lesson plan just for this, because these overarching standards, and PE's in the same boat too, these kinds of overarching standards are kind of big unit kinds of objectives. I want to see that you have a lesson or a strategy or resource for teaching all these substandards. So if you were going to go tomorrow and teach, or at least tomorrow or next week, focus on discussing the geographic borders of the empire at its height and the factors that threaten its territorial cohesion, I want to see something. Do you have a lesson plan for that? Do you have a strategy for teaching that? Do you have any of those 7 items related to that? I only need one, right? That would tell me that at least you have something, some kind of a resource that you understand how to teach those standards. And that goes back to TPE 3.1, that you have demonstrated that you understand your subject matter, and that the resource you're providing me, I can see very clear that yes, this is a solid resource that shows me that you understand this standard and that you know how to teach it. So I hope that makes sense. So I just want to clarify again, you are finding not 10 examples per standard, not 10 examples in general. I want one example for each of the substandards that you have for the grade level that you chose. So that might range from a bunch of different things. So if we just did that for history to be concrete, we're looking at 3 examples there, plus 6, plus another 6, plus another 5. I think you're getting the idea, right? And so you might start to think like, gosh, this seems like it's going to be robust. It's supposed to be, right? Like you are going to carry this binder with you into your basically into your job and into your career, and you're going to build upon it throughout your entire lifetime. I can show you my continuing ongoing portfolio now in higher ed of the different strategies that I'm learning as I go to conferences, or I teach you all and take notes, and I start to build my kind of content repertoire for teaching teachers. We all do this as teachers, and so this is hopefully not a kind of vain exercise. This is definitely something that you'll continue to use and continue to revise over and over. And so that's the content standards binder. Now let's go to the observation. Let me go back over here to my assignments. And I feel like the way we wrote that clearly on the content or on the assignment page is what you should do. I don't think we could be any more clear, so hopefully I can reiterate this. Essentially, every class in our program is designed to help you get to the 600 clinical hours that you need to be able to earn your preliminary credential. The way we've mapped it out in our program is that you get a majority of those hours out in the field, and then you get part of those hours in each of the courses. So in 4300, you have 10 clinical hours to do. And those clinical hours are very flexible, right? And so you essentially could do, as we put here, the purpose is to observe and document a teacher's use of strategies with diverse students in a classroom and evidence of student learning and engagement. But I like this last one. This is really a time for you to observe the concepts we were learning in this course. So, hey, let's go look at unit planning. Let's go look at discussion and let's observe that, or any other aspect that you're interested in learning about. I know some of you right now are interested in classroom management, so maybe going to observe some of that. So those are the things you want to be looking for, at least doing for 10 hours of observation. Those 10 hours have to be outside of your student teaching, otherwise they don't count. You can't like double dip. You actually have to have 600 hours, so you need to comprise 600 hours, and you can't just do that as part of, because we've already attached hours to your student teaching, you have to do extra time. So there's that piece. So now, how do you record this is the next big question. You go to your clinical hours sheet. I know some of you have different looking sheets, so you can put this in coursework, or some of you might have a tab that just says, for all course related hours, or some of you might have tabs that separate each course. I'm going to use the one that separates each course. You just go to that tab, you type in the semester, you type in the hours, type in the school site. If you have one that's more for course related things, I would attach it to the course, maybe add an additional tab, or you can even put here under semester, like second semester 4,300, how many hours you did, the school site that you're at. And when it comes to activity, very brief. What did you see? Basically summarize what you observed. And then the second piece is, what did you learn? And you could probably do that within 2 to 3 sentences. And so that's all that needs to be included there. So I hope that clarifies those 2 assignments, and I hope that gives you enough guidance to help you out throughout the week. Again, office hours Tuesday, Thursday from 3:30 to 5 if you have further questions. Last big push, right? Get these last 2 assignments done, finish up your TPA submission so that we can close out 4,300 and transition to 4,400 in about a week and a half. So if you have any questions, reach out.